The Cleveland Guardians are back on the biggest stage in baseball, the World Series, and today we'll be kicking off games 1 and 2 of the 2026 World Series here at Wrigley Field against the Chicago Cubs. These two teams played against each other in the World Series 10 years ago. One of the all-time classic World Series matchups. Of course, famously, the Chicago Cubs broke their 108-year championship drought by coming back down 3-1 in order to defeat the Cleveland Guardians in that series and win the championship. And now, the Guardians get an opportunity for closure as they look for their second World Series title in the last 3 years after beating the Rockies in 5 games in 2024. Last episode, we had games 5 and 6 against the Mariners, and we won both of them 9-8. In both games, we started off with big leads. The Mariners made a feisty comeback in both matchups, but some late offense in both games from our team was able to propel us to the win, preparing us for this World Series against the Chicago Cubs, who won the National League Central, winning 99 games. They beat the Marlins in the NLDS in 4 games, allowing a total of 5 runs in those 4 games. And then in the NLCS, they needed 7 to defeat the Atlanta Braves, but in Game 7, they dominated, winning 12-2 to punch their ticket to the World Series as they look for their second championship in the last decade. The Cubs are the only team who finished with a better record than us this year, meaning that they own home field advantage. So the World Series runs through Wrigley Field, and obviously games 1 and 2 will both be there. We'll be making one change to the postseason roster. Ricky Watkins will be called up. He started in 24 games this year and did all right. But the main reason why we're bringing him up is I wanted to bring Rambo Rodriguez down. Whenever Rambo has entered the game, he has not pitched very well. And right now, I just trust Ricky Watkins a little bit more. The offense continues to dominate for this team. The offense is the backbone of our really entire season. And through the playoffs, it has been no different. We're hitting the ball consistently for contact and for power, but the pitching continues to be a mixed bag. Guys like Jose Ramirez, Kyle Lewis, and Ketel Marte are truly playing like the star players that we know they are. However, the starting pitching and the bullpen needs to be significantly more consistent if we want any chance of winning the World Series. As we take a look at our opponents, the Chicago Cubs, there's a reason why they won 99 games this year. They're a very talented squad, but they're a different team than us. They are led more so by their pitching as opposed to their lineup. And that's not to say they had a bad lineup. They do have some solid guys in here like Akil Baddoo, Sergio Alcantara, Brian Reynolds, Jared Walsh, amongst others. Young guys like Christian Ramirez and Javier La Stella have played big roles in the playoffs. La Stella drove in 6 runs in Game 7 of the NLCS against Atlanta, and these guys don't have a single position player lower than 80 overall. They have a lot of depth. However, the pitching is really the strength of this team. They signed Jack Flaherty 3 years ago, and he's been the best pitcher in baseball during that stretch. He has led a culture change in Chicago and has them here in the World Series. The rest of the rotation is pretty deep. They've got some solid guys here. Their bullpen is solid as well. I think their pitching is a lot more consistent than us, but they lack the true high-end talent that we do within the lineup. I think the Cubs are going to be viewed as the slight favorites going into this series, however. They have home field advantage. I think having a pitching staff who's hot really does wonders for you in the playoffs, and the Cubs pitching staff looks a lot better than ours right now. So I really think the Cleveland Guardians, similar to 10 years ago when these two teams played in the World Series, I think Cleveland looks like the underdog. But I'm very confident that this Guardians team, who has World Series experience, they just won one 2 years ago, I think they can do it again. This Cubs team is a lot better than the Colorado Rockies were 2 years ago, the team who Cleveland beat. But I also think this Cleveland team is better than they were 2 years ago. As we look at the playoff statistics, the Guardians are averaging 7 runs a game, batting .300, hitting for a .942 OPS, but they've allowed over 5 runs per contest, whereas the Cubs have only allowed 3. Interestingly, Cleveland has a better whip in terms of pitching. The Guardians have found themselves with a lot of bad luck, and they have struggled when allowing runners on base. And I think this Cubs team has some clutch guys in their lineup, so I have a feeling that Cleveland's got to continue to avoid allowing runners on base. Otherwise, the Cubs, like Seattle and Minnesota in certain situations, are going to be clutch. Let's take a look at both lineups. Regular starters across the board here for games 1 and 2 of the World Series. On the mound for the Cubs is the ace of the staff, Jack Flaherty, who in 23 postseason innings this year has allowed 1 run. Yeah, he's been really damn good, and our lineup has a tall task ahead of them. George Valera leads it off. He pops this one into left field. Should be caught pretty easily, and it will. But, man, it feels pretty exciting that we are back in the World Series. That'll bring up the number 2 hitter, Zane Rowley. Mr. October does so well in the postseason, but he strikes out looking. He thought that was ball 4, but does not get the call. Let's take a look at Cleveland's starting pitcher, their ace, Shane Bieber. The game is not showing his stats for some reason. I don't know why. Bieber was pretty bad in the first half of the year, but was excellent since the All-Star break. And in 3 postseason starts, he's been pretty good with an ERA at 3.5 and a whip of 1.17. His last start, however, was a disappointment. Game 4 of the ALDS against Seattle. With 2 away, Brian Reynolds flies it into right. Kyle Lewis under it, and he makes the play. So neither team gets a base runner on here in the first inning in what could be a very exciting pitcher's duel. The only player who played in the 2016 World Series who's on either of these teams still 10 years later is Jose Ramirez, who strikes out on the fastball to lead off the second. Good pitch by Flaherty, his second K of the day. That'll bring up Kyle Lewis now. 3-1 count, and this pitch goes low and outside for ball 4. We have our first base runner of the World Series. It's a Kyle Lewis walk. That'll bring up Alvaro Pena. His first World Series at bat is a home run, but it's foul. It curved to the left right at the end. So Pena nearly had an opportunity to make it 2-0. He hits this ball well a couple pitches later in right center field, but it is caught out in center by Brian Reynolds for the second out of the inning. Cleveland nearly had an opportunity to take a 2-0 lead there. They just had it. That'll bring up Jesus Sanchez. He goes down looking on the fastball. Good start here for Jack Flaherty, as it still is scoreless. Let's go to the bottom of the second and see if the Cubs can get anything rolling here with Jared Walsh leading off the inning off with a bang. Walsh crushes it into right field. That one is gone. Solo home run for Chicago, and the Cubbies are the first ones to score here in the World Series. Jared Walsh with his second homer of the playoffs, and it puts the Cubs ahead 1-0 here in Game 1. That'll bring up J.J. Bleday, Danville, PA's finest. And he goes down looking on the outside slider. Nice pitch by Bieber, his first strikeout of the ball game. That'll bring up Christian Ramirez for 1-2, swinging a miss on the fastball for the second out of the inning. Another strikeout for Bieber, trying to quickly get back into a groove after allowing the home run to Walsh. Javier La Stella singles up the middle into center. La Stella has really struggled in the postseason, but he drove in 6 runs in Game 7 of the NLCS against Atlanta, finally breaking out. That'll bring up Jake Fraley, who lines it to short. Marte makes the play, but not a bad inning for the Cubs. They get on the board with a solo home run by Jared Walsh. That'll bring us into the third. 1-0 score. The veteran first baseman Josh Bell is up for the Guardians to lead the inning off in a full count, and Bell crushes it into right center. A bat flip for Bell, no doubt about it. Solo home run for Josh Bell, his second homer of the playoffs, 424 feet, and this game is tied at 1. So Jared Walsh homers, and Josh Bell responds with a homer of his own, and both offenses are now starting to ignite some fire here in the World Series. What a swing from Bell. 1 away now for George Valera as the Guardians look to capitalize off of the momentum from the homer, but Valera strikes out on the knuckle curve. Good pitch by Flaherty, who's up to 5 strikeouts now. Zane Rowley is up next. He has performed very well in his postseason career, was great as a rookie in the World Series 2 years ago against the Rockies, but he starts tonight off 0 for 2 with a fly out to center. Not a bad inning, though. Josh Bell hits a homer, and we are tied at 1. Going into the bottom of the third, Sean Murphy, the catcher, is up for the Cubs, and he leads off the inning nicely as that ball gets by Kyle Lewis. Should have been a single, but Lewis is slow to get to it. Kyle Lewis had a very similar play against the Mariners in the ALCS. Maybe Cleveland needs to make him the DH because as good offensively as Kyle Lewis is, his defense here in the postseason has been a liability. Bieber's got to get out of this jam now as he strikes out Sergio Alcantara for the second out of the inning. And then against Brian Reynolds, he goes down on the low slider. So despite Sean Murphy turning a single into a double because of poor defense, Shane Bieber still gets out of the inning. No additional runs score as we remain tied at 1 through 3 in what has been a very competitive game so far. Jose Ramirez swings and misses at the high fastball early in the 4th. I said this game's got a great shot to be a pitcher's duel, and it's really trending that way. Jack Flaherty and Shane Bieber are both pitching very well tonight. Kyle Lewis with a 3-1 count wanted to draw a second walk, but instead he pops it into center, caught by Reynolds. Quick 1-2-3 inning for Jack Flaherty against Cleveland's 3 best hitters, Marte, Ramirez, and Lewis. As we go into the bottom of the 4th, Christian Ramirez goes down looking on the outside changeup. That pitch did not look like a strike, but hey, we'll take it. Another 1-2-3 inning for Bieber. The Shane train is all aboard here at Wrigley. Top 5, 1 away for Jesus Sanchez, and he goes fishing on the knuckle curve. Other than the home run allowed in the 3rd inning from Josh Bell, Jack Flaherty has been pretty much flawless today, only allowing 1 other base runner. Speaking of Josh Bell, he's up here, and he goes down looking on the fastball. He thought that was ball 4. The pitch looked like it was inside. He had some words for the umpire after the call as well. Let's go to the bottom of the 5th now. Still tied at 1. Jake Fraley swings at a fastball way out of the zone. Bieber fever is alive and well right now. Shane Bieber looks awesome here in Game 1 of the World Series. 2 away for Murphy, swinging a miss on the slider. And through 5, this game is tied at 1. I don't think either team has gotten a base runner since the 3rd inning. Both of these pitchers appear to be locked in a groove. I think they've both got multiple more innings out of them in what is really turning into a pitcher's duel classic. Top 6, the catcher, Luis Campusano, hits it down the line and fair. The Guardians with just their 2nd base hit of the day. A leadoff single by Luis Campusano. And with the top of the order due up, the Guardians have a nice opportunity to take their first lead of the game. George Valera, hanging pitch up and away. He singles it into center as Campusano has to slide into second. So now there's 2 runners on and nobody out. And a huge opportunity for Mr. October, Zane Rowley, who's going to come up big. Rowley hits it into the right center gap, looking for extra bases. Campusano scores. Valera scores. Rowley slides head first at 3rd, and he is safe with a 2-run triple. And the Guardians lead 3-1. Death, taxes, and Zane Rowley making plays in the postseason. The 3 guarantees in life. Jack Flaherty will be taken out of the game. He was dominant through 5 innings, but he let it get away from him here in the 6th. As the Cubs turn into the bullpen. Joe Barlow is in the game for Chicago, his first postseason appearance of the year. In the regular season, he was horrible. 6.31 ERA, 1.91 whip. I really don't know what they see in him to have him pitch out of the jam in Game 1 of the World Series. Ketel Marte leads the inning off, hits a pitch out of the zone, but still gets it to drop into right for a base hit. Rowley scores, and the Guardians now lead it 4-1. As Ketel Marte is fired up with words to the opposing dugout. Jose Ramirez is next up for Cleveland, and he crushes it into right field. A 2-run bomb for Jose Ramirez as it's now 6-1. The Guardians have exploded in the 6th inning with 5 runs, and there's still no outs, by the way. Ramirez with his 8th home run in the postseason. He's getting pretty close to the all-time record for the most home runs in a single playoff. He has a real shot to break that here in the World Series, especially if it goes 6 or 7 games. The Cubs are just looking to get some outs together. I mean, this is brutal. Kyle Lewis draws a walk, his 2nd of the game, and the Guardians have another base runner with still nobody out. That'll bring up Alvaro Pena in his first World Series game. Checks his swing for strike 3. Chicago finally gets an out. It only took like 7 batters. Jesus Sanchez then strikes out on the 12-6 curve as Joe Barlow finally is starting to figure things out against a red-hot Cleveland lineup. Bell goes down looking, and that'll wrap up the top of the 6th. A huge inning for Cleveland, scoring 5 runs, knocking Jack Flaherty out of the game as Zane Rowley and Jose Ramirez each drive in 2, while Marte gets 1 across. Bottom 6, Akil Yabadabadu strikes out on the slider. Unlike Jack Flaherty, it looks like Shane Bieber is still pitching very well. He gets Brian Reynolds to strike out on the high changeup, and that'll wrap up the 6th. A big inning for the Guardians as they lead 6-1. John Brebbia checks into the game for Chicago. 5 runs in just under 4 postseason innings. He also has not been very good. But unlike Barlow, it's been in the playoffs. Luis Campusano leads off the inning with a walk, so the Guardians have an early base runner. That'll bring up George Valera, got a base hit and scored in his last at-bat. Hits it well up the middle, but the Cubs are going to turn a 4-6-3 double play. So Cleveland's not going to have a repeat of the last inning where they had their first 6 guys reach base. Bottom 7, 1 away for J.J. Bleday. Flies it into center. Sanchez slow to get over to it. Slide to the left as he shuffles over to get the second out of the inning. That'll bring up Christian Ramirez, the 2-2. This one is hit into no man's land. Going to be a tough play for Marte, and he makes the over-the-shoulders grab. You know, the Chicago Bears down the street could use some receivers who could make plays like that. 7 innings, 1 earned run allowed, and only 3 hits from Shane Bieber. His day is likely done, as since Cleveland's up by 5, they're going to try to preserve Bieber's arm. Daniel Norris is into the game here in the 8th. The veteran lefty has allowed 4 runs in 9 postseason innings so far. He's an innings eater, and the Cubs are hoping he can get through the final 2 innings, not allowing any more damage, as he strikes Ketel Marte out looking for the first out of the frame. 2 away now for Kyle Lewis. Head in the count, and Lewis hits it well into right field. That one goes near the track, but it is caught. 1-2-3 inning for Daniel Norris. As we go to the bottom of the 8th inning, we'll see what Cleveland has in store of the bullpen. Ricky Watkins enters the game. He was a rookie this year in the big leagues, pitched in 24 games, all of which were starts. He was okay, hasn't pitched yet in the playoffs until now, and Cleveland's hoping he can get through the rest of the inning with no problem, as he has a 1-2-3 bottom of the 8th inning, finished off by a Sean Murphy groundout. Cleveland is now only 1 inning away from taking home Game 1 of the World Series. Ramon Romero is up as a pinch hitter here in the 9th. The lefty killer, we know he can hit lefties well, but he will fly out to center as it's caught by Brian Reynolds for the first out of the inning. Then Dansby Swanson is up as a pinch hitter, and he clobbers it into left center for a homer. 2-time World Series champion Dansby Swanson is looking to add a 3rd ring to the repertoire. 420 feet, his first home run in the playoffs, and the Guardians add a little insurance to their lead as it's now 7-1. What a swing by Swanson off the bench, trying to show that he deserves more playing time here down the stretch as a dependable veteran. Josh Bell then singles into left. Clearly, Cleveland's offense is not satisfied. They choked a 6-run lead against the Mariners in Game 5 of the ALCS, so the Guardians know very well that no lead, is safe. George Valera with 2 away strikes out. Murphy throws him out at first. Not a bad inning, though. The Guardians add some insurance with a homer by Swanson as it's 7-1, and the Cubs need a miracle here in the 9th. Akil Badu strikes out. Ricky Watkins, as you can see, is still in the game as he faces off against Sergio Alcantara. Grounds it to third. Jose Ramirez misfires the throw as it goes way ahead of Josh Bell, and Alcantara finds himself at second as he reaches off of a throwing error from Jose Ramirez at third base. Could this be the spark that the Cubs need to propel a miracle comeback? Brian Reynolds flies it into left. Rowley under it, and he catches it for the second out of the inning. We'll see if Cleveland can just get one more to finish it off, as it's Jared Walsh hits it into the right center gap for extra bases. Sergio Alcantara will score with no problem, as the Cubs are going to make it a 7-2 ball game. Put your rally caps on, kids. This game ain't over quite yet. J.J. Bleday is next up. He grounds it to first. Josh Bell scoops it up, tags the bag, and the Guardians win it 7-2. Cleveland has won Game 1 of the World Series as they find themselves in the driver's seat early with a big win here on the road, led by a dominant pitching performance from the ace of the staff, Shane Bieber. This game really gave you everything you wanted if you're a Cleveland fan. The offense wasn't the most consistent, but that big run in the 6th inning, scoring 5 runs, was clearly more than enough to do the job. We had some guys really step up in that inning. The homer by Ramirez, obviously Zane Rowley with the big triple. Josh Bell was the only player with multiple base hits today, including his homer in the 3rd. And of course, Swanson had the homer in the 9th to ice the game. The big story, however, was the performance of Shane Bieber. He was awesome. 7 innings, 1 earned run, just fantastic. The Cubs lineup could not really do much of anything against him with only 2 runs and 4 hits. Jack Flaherty pitched pretty well through the first 5 innings. I lied, he pitched really well, but things got away from him in the 6th as he'll take the loss. So that brings us to Game 2, and the Guardians have a real shot to take control in this series. If they win this game, they will have a 2-0 lead. They will already have had 2 road games and 2 road wins, so I don't want to call this a must-win for the Chicago Cubs, but it's kind of a must-win. If they don't win this game, well, they're in a lot of trouble, and they're going to have some major groundwork to do on the road. The Guardians are rocking with the young righty Hunter Green in his first ever World Series appearance. He'll go up against the lefty Justin Steele, who looks to keep the Cubs afloat here in the 2026 Fall Classic, as the Guardians look to get revenge from 10 years ago and win their 2nd World Series of the last 3 years. So this is what the schedule looks like for now. Again, next episode will be games 3 and 4, and then from there, who knows? If Cleveland wins this game, they can position themselves to finish off the job pretty early within the series. Here's a look at both lineups. Some new faces in for Cleveland. Dansby Swanson, Ramon Romero, and Eliezer Alfonso are all starting today. Here's Justin Steele. He's been okay in the playoffs. 1-1, 4.32 ERA, 1.74 whip, and he is a lefty, keep in mind. He'll start with Zane Rowley, who leads off the game with a single into right field. A quick start for Zane Rowley, who really started the rally in the 6th inning of Game 1 with his 2-run triple. Ketel Marte goes down looking on the fastball. Nice pitch by Steele, his first K of the day. 2 away now and a full count for Jose Ramirez, who pops this one up into the shallow right field area, and it will be caught. Not a bad start for Steele as he allows a base hit, but the Cubs get through the rest of the inning, rocking their City Connect Wrigleyville jerseys. Let's take a look at Hunter Green, the young righty on the mound for the Guardians. He's pitched here many times during his young career with the Cincinnati Reds before being traded to Cleveland. He had a down season, but has been good so far in the playoffs, and his first inning in the World Series will go pretty smoothly. 1-2-3, finished off by a Brian Reynolds ground out to short. No runs here through 1. Will either team get the scoring going in the 2nd? Kyle Lewis hits it well over to short. What a play by La Stella, and they got him out. An incredible diving play and throw at shortstop by Javier La Stella to rob Kyle Lewis of an easy base hit. An incredible play there by the Chicago defense. Yeah, he's out of there. Nothing Kyle Lewis could have done. Just excellent defense. 2 away for George Valera. He strikes out on the fastball. He took a big cut there, swinging for the fences as the Guardians get nothing going there. Let's go bottom 2. Jared Walsh up for Chicago, and he gets fooled by the inside slider. Walsh drove in both of Chicago's runs in their Game 1 loss. J.J. Bleday next up for Chicago, and he draws a walk. So the Cubs get their first base runner of the game. That'll bring up Christian Ramirez, the young second baseman, and he strikes out looking. He has some words for the umpire as well. Does not like the call. That'll bring up Javier La Stella now. Had the incredible defensive play in the top half of the inning. Pops it into foul territory. Ramirez makes the play, and that'll wrap up the bottom of the 2nd. No score so far. Both Steele and Green look quite good. Let's go to the top of the 3rd. Eliezer Alfonso, the young catcher who won the World Series MVP 2 years ago against Colorado, hits it well into center, but it is caught by Brian Reynolds for the 2nd out of the inning. That one went all the way to the track, but Reynolds is able to make the play. That'll bring up Zane Rowley now. Hits it well into left center, and it is gone. Solo home run for Zane Rowley, his 3rd homer of the playoffs, and the Guardians strike first here in Game 2 as they now lead 1-0. I said it earlier today, there are only 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and Zane Rowley performing in the playoffs. He's done it every year since he got called up a couple seasons ago. Ramon Romero, the lefty killer, is next up. And he's going to hit this one into shallow right, and it is caught by Bleday. Not a bad inning, though. The Guardians get on the board with the homer by Zane Rowley. As we go bottom three, Jake Fraley goes down on the fastball. Hunter Greene has not allowed a hit yet. Only one walk so far. He looks locked in right now as he walks Sean Murphy. So the Cubs get another base runner. We'll see if they can get some scoring here, as that brings up Akil Baddoo, who swings and misses on the slider. They're just not hitting Green stuff. That's his 4th K of the day. Here's his 5th. This time it's Alcantara who swings and misses. And man, Hunter Greene looks good. The Cubs, for the most part, have not been able to hit the ball at all during the World Series. First in Game 1, they struggled against Shane Bieber, and now they're not performing well at all against Hunter Greene. Top 4, 2 away for Kyle Lewis. Swings at an inside fastball. He really should not have swung at that pitch. Good inning for Justin Steele, who has pitched pretty well today, other than allowing the homer to Zane Rowley. But I think Hunter Greene right now is the bigger story. He's still got a no-hitter going as he strikes out Jared Walsh, his 6th strikeout of the day. J.J. Bleday is next, hits it into left. Valera makes a nice play, and that'll wrap up the 4th. I don't want to jinx it and really start talking about no-hitters, but the Cubs lineup has done nothing today. They're not hitting the ball well at all against Hunter Greene. Josh Bell is up here with 2 away in the 5th. Hits it high into left, and it is caught near the track to end the inning by Jake Fraley. Justin Steele is pitching really well. Only 1 earned run and only 2 hits in 5 innings. Bottom 5, La Stella strikes out, and he's frustrated with himself. Hunter Greene's 7th K of the day. Now Jake Fraley is up. Flies it into left. Valera under it. And Hunter Greene has now pitched a 5-inning no-hitter here in the World Series. Can he keep it going a little while longer as he looks to make history in Wrigley? Top 6, Zane Rowley is up for the Guardians. He's been literally their only offense today. He's been the only player to reach base today with his single and homer, but he flies out into center as it's caught by Reynolds. Nobody else has reached base today for Cleveland. The offense has to step up and not swing at junk like that. Ramon Romero 0 for 3 with a bad strikeout now. Justin Steele continuing to dominate for the Cubs. On the flip side, Hunter Greene is still cooking as he strikes out Sean Murphy, his 8th K of the day. Now against Alcantara. Grounded to third. Jose Ramirez looking to make the throw, and it is offline. Another throwing error from Jose Ramirez. Just like in Game 1, Ramirez overthrows the first baseman, and that was the same batter from Game 1, Alcantara. It will be called as an error according to the scorers, obviously. So the no-hitter is still intact. But, man, first Kyle Lewis, now Jose Ramirez. There are multiple guys on this Cleveland team who look like liabilities at the moment defensively. That'll bring up Brian Reynolds, who grounds out to Ramiro, and that'll wrap up the 6th. The Cubs do get a base runner off of an error, but nonetheless, Hunter Greene still has a no-hitter, and he only has 9 outs to go. This is something that could actually really happen now. Ketel Marte draws a walk here in the 7th. He is the first player not named Zane Rowley to reach base for the Guardians. Will they capitalize? Finally getting a runner? I don't know. Swanson hits it well into right, and it is caught. An incredible diving catch by J.J. Bleday. That'll wrap up the top of the 7th as it remains 1-0. Can Hunter Greene keep the no-hitter going? 2 gone for Christian Ramirez. Hits it high and deep in the left center. That ball is gone. The no-hitter is dead. The shutout is dead. And this game is tied at 1. It says that's his first career homer, but he's hit 5 in the playoffs now for Chicago, as Christian Ramirez is the one to spoil history for Hunter Greene, and we are tied at 1. One swing of the bat can literally change the trajectory of the entire game. That'll bring up Javier La Stella. Clobbers it into straightaway center, and that one is gone. The Cubs take a 2-1 lead with back-to-back home runs from Ramirez and La Stella. Hunter Greene, a couple batters ago, just had a no-hitter. Now the Guardians are losing, and Hunter Greene's going to have to be taken out of the game after allowing back-to-back home runs. If Cleveland ends up losing this game, it is 100% not Hunter Greene's fault. He pitched a gem today, but the offense has continued to be a problem. And now the Cubs are starting to figure some things out. I know he's frustrated with himself, but he's got nothing to be ashamed of. He pitched an all-time World Series appearance, but still might get the loss, depending on how Cleveland's offense does. James Karinchak is now in for Cleveland. He is not allowed a run so far in the postseason and has been utterly dominant in the month of October. Nice play by Ramon Romero to get the final out of the inning as Fraley grounds out. Big inning, though, for the Cubs. They get back-to-back home runs from Ramirez and La Stella to take a 2-1 lead. Other than the leadoff single by Zane Rowley in the top of the first inning, the only hits today have been solo home runs. Let's go to the 8th inning now. Brett Martin, the lefty, is now in for Chicago. He is not allowed a run so far in the playoffs. The Guardians have not gotten a hit since the 3rd inning, and they've got some work to do now losing. George Valera is up. He swings at a pitch that he shouldn't have, nearly jumping out of his shoes at the sinker. That'll bring up Alvaro Pena coming in off the bench. Grounds it to second. Ramirez makes the play for out number 2. Can Cleveland's offense wake up? This is a monstrosity of a performance. Jesus Sanchez coming in off the bench, and he's going to hit this one well into right, but it is caught by Bleday. 8 innings, 1 run, 2 hits. Cleveland's offense is ice cold. And with Hunter Green allowing the homers, now they don't even have their lead. The Cubs are going to look to extend the lead, nearly hitting a home run to start things off. That was Sean Murphy, but it is caught at the warning track for the first out of the inning. So Akil Baddoo is going to make sure this one actually gets over the fence. Akil Yabba Dabba Doo with a solo home run for the Cubs. And it's now 3-1 with his 3rd home run of the playoffs. That's the first run that James Karinchak has allowed during the entire playoffs as he gets through the rest of the inning with a strikeout here against Brian Reynolds. So the Cubs extend their lead with a solo home run by Akil Baddoo. Let's go into the 9th inning. The Cleveland Guardians, who still don't have a hit since the 3rd inning, need at least 2 runs to keep the game alive, and I think they can do it against R.J. Dabovich, who in 2/3 of a postseason inning has allowed 3 runs. Can he do that again against the top of the Cleveland lineup? That starts with Zane Rowley, who flies out to center, caught by Reynolds for the first out of the inning. So now that Rowley's been retired, Cleveland's going to put their fate into guys who either have not hit today, in the case of Dustin Harris, or guys who have not hit well today. Harris flies out to left. It's caught by Jake Fraley for the second out of the inning, and now Dabovich just needs 1 more to get his first save of the playoffs. It comes down to Ketel Marte, who has been great throughout the entire playoffs. Not so much today. 0 for 2 with a walk as he skies this one into left center. Fraley and Reynolds both go after it, as it will be caught by Reynolds, and this game is over. The Chicago Cubs take back Game 2 to tie the World Series at 1. A big win here for Chicago. They had to get back on the win column, and Chicago's offense did nothing for most of this game as Hunter Green had a no-hitter go nearly 7 full innings. The homers by Ramirez and La Stella knocked Green out of the game, and the homer in the bottom of the 8th by Akil Baddoo was ultimately the icing on the cake. Those were the only 3 hits of the game for Chicago. Cleveland's offense somehow was worse. Other than Zane Rowley, who was 2 for 4 with a homer, he played well. The rest of the team got on base once the rest of the game, a walk by Ketel Marte. So nobody else had a hit. And everybody not named Zane Rowley went 0 for 29 with a walk. That's pretty bad, and it's unfortunate because Hunter Green had a gem of a performance. He had a no-hitter nearly last 7 innings, and he gets the loss. Our offense has been so good throughout the entire playoffs. The one time that our pitching does this well, the offense completely lays an egg. Chicago did not hit the ball well at all, but their pitching was great. Justin Steele was fantastic. 6 innings, 1 earned run, 2 hits, and the bullpen shut the door, only allowing 1 base runner in the last 3 innings. So it's been a very eventful start to the World Series. Cleveland wins Game 1 big, and the Cubs take back Game 2. Next episode will be Games 3 and 4 in Cleveland. Can we take control back at home, or will the Cubs take momentum from our awful offensive performance here in this last game? That'll wrap up the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.